because I'm just mentioning, you're saying that's what it means. That's not literally what it says.
That's fine.
Because I want to take the words in those places what they really mean and make sure they don't contradict
Right.
what is being said in Ephesians 2 or other passages.
Okay, that's fine. So now I want to go down to Ephesians 2, and I want to ask you a question, right? Because you talk about the middle wall partition being broke down through Christ. Verse 16, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby. Now the word reconcile comes from two Latin words, re and conciliare. Back, what re means back, conciliare means bring together.
Wait,
So,
can I ask you something? Why do you go to Latin word to define a Greek word? Why do you go to Latin word to define a Greek word?
okay, hold on. Look.
To define a Greek word.
Okay, hold on. Look quick.
I'm just saying, I know what you're saying, but that's weird.
Okay, even when you go to the Greek word for reconcile, it still means to bring back together.
Reconciliation. This passage, Ephesians 2:16, is one of the few that discuss the doctrine of reconciliation, which focuses on the restoration of broken relations. In the New Testament, this language appears only in Paul's letters, and then only infrequently. The verb to reconcile, apokatallasso, does not occur prior to Paul's use, and in the New Testament appears elsewhere only in Colossians 1:20 and 22. In each reconciliation passage, the focus is different. Romans 5:10 through 11 focuses on reconciliation between God and sinners who are enemies. In 2 Corinthians 5:18 through 21, God reconciles us / the world to himself and gives us the ministry of reconciliation. In Colossians 1:20 through 21, God reconciles to himself all things on earth and in heaven. In Ephesians 2:16, a double reconciliation occurs, that between God and humanity, and that between Jews and Gentiles. In New Testament texts, God is always the one who does the reconciling. Human beings are reconciled. God or Christ reconciles. The initiative always lies with God. The cross is God's act to reconcile people to himself, not an act by which he is reconciled. Even when people are hostile to God and God is angry, he loves and works to restore relations.
Define a Greek word.
Okay, hold on. Look quick.
I'm just saying, I know what you're saying, but that's weird.
Okay, even when you go to the Greek word for reconcile, it still means to bring back together. So I'm just, for the audience sake, I'm just telling you what the word means. So how can these people be brought back together that they were never a part of? How can they be brought back to something that they were never a part of? And the term stranger, too, because I want to allow you a chance to respond. The term stranger, are you saying that an Israelite is never referred to as stranger?
An Israelite is never referred to as stranger. Mm-hmm. I think you might see places where there's kind of similar metaphor, almost like the prodigal son, for example.
Okay.
But I don't think any contextual reading will allow someone to say, "Oh, look, these Israelites equal strangers." You know what I'm saying?
So
the reconcile verse. What verse is that again?
Ephesians 2. I want to say verse 14, 16. It might be.
16. Okay, yeah. Apokatallasso. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, but.
Means to bring back.
Because it seems like part of what you're doing is you're saying, hey, we got to base this upon a Latin word here, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, the Greek, you agree, says the same thing, to bring back, right?
Well, I'll look it up. I don't actually know what I'm talking about.
I got it right now if you want to see it. It's the Greek word apokatallasso, which means to reconcile, to bring back again, to bring back a former state to a former state.
So, you're saying this is bringing back lost Israelites to Israel. That's what you're saying?
Well, bringing back all Israelites, specifically those who have been amalgamated into other customs.
So where is that in the text about, you're in the
11 on down, what you read. You were aliens. You were cut off. You were strangers. But now through Christ, we can be brought back.
So how would you describe a Gentile in the flesh, besides calling them a Gentile in the flesh?
Circumcision, he describes it.
But it literally says Gentile in the flesh.
Yes, uncircumcision is a form of you being a Gentile in your flesh because you are uncircumcised.
Okay. What's your precept that being uncircumcised equals you're a Gentile?
No, Gentile in the flesh.
your precept that being uncircumcised equals you're a Gentile?
No, Gentile in the flesh because of uncircumcision.
But you see
Because
what I'm saying?
if you are uncircumcised, what would usually happen? You would be cast away. So now you're reckoned as a Gentile due to the fact that you're uncircumcised.
You see what I'm saying? But you're saying that if someone is uncircumcised, they're a Gentile.
Mm-hmm. In their flesh, they're amalgamated into Gentile ways. It's due to their uncircumcision. And we read about that in Maccabees as well.
Yeah, is there a Bible verse that says those were Gentiles?
That says these people in Ephesians 2 were Gentiles? Well, he just called them Gentiles, Gentiles in your flesh. So now again...
Yeah, but why are you assuming those aren't actual Gentiles?
That says these people in Ephesians 2 were Gentiles? Well, he just called them Gentiles, Gentiles in your flesh. So now again...
Yeah, but why are you assuming those aren't actual Gentiles? It literally says Gentiles in the flesh.
Mm-hmm. Because the word reconcile. What does the word reconcile mean? Again, to bring back. So then my question to you, which I didn't think you answered, was how can you bring back people who are never a part of something?
Yeah, they're being reconciled to God, and what you're having is a restoration of God's people. Because there's a situation prior to Israel. Not only that, Israel always had actual strangers amongst them, right? But what I'm saying is, you're saying if you're uncircumcised, it equals you're a Gentile. But where did you get that idea from?
Okay.
Because that seems like your interpretation hinges upon that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that if a person is uncircumcised, they are a Gentile.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that Timothy was a Gentile prior to being circumcised by Paul?
He was a Gentile in his flesh due to the fact that he was uncircumcised.
Right, but where did you get that information
Okay,
from?
I got you.
You're saying that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Now I need a Bible
Paul
verse.
never says that.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible never says that. Accuses never say that.
Got you.
Do you believe that Abraham, prior to being circumcised,
Well,
was
that's
a
pre
Gentile?
that's pre the circumcision law being given. So I don't think you can.
So you don't think that's relevant?
No.
So Moses' son, prior to him being circumcised by his wife, do you think he was actually he was a Gentile?
The concept of being a Gentile in the flesh, he tells you circumcision. That's why you're referenced as a Gentile in the flesh. So now,
But how do you know these are Jews?
because they're being reconciled to something.
So you're
I'm
basing
asking,
everything on the fact that it has to be reconciled.
yes, and that's why I'm asking you, how can these people be brought back to something they were never a part of? How can these people be brought back to something they were never a part of?
Well, you're saying that, but no longer strangers and aliens.
Mm-hmm.
You are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So I'm asking you, like, how can they be reconciled? If reconcile means bring back.
that's
So
not
how
all.
can-
That's not all reconciled means.
Okay, so can you answer the question? How can they be
Yeah.
brought back to something they were not a part of?
Reconciled us both. Jews and Gentiles were never together.
No, that's what I'm saying. Reconciled. How can they be brought back to something they were not a part of?
Gentiles have always been, throughout the covenants, part of God's people.
Where is that in the Bible?
We have Ruth,
Okay.
we have Caleb,
Mm-hmm.
we have Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Before there's no Israelites around.
Mm-hmm.
We have Noah, no Israelites around.
No, that's
we
what
have
I'm saying.
Job,
When there's
never
a
identifies an Israelite.
okay.
Go on for a while.
Okay.
But see,
can I address what you just said real
you're
quick?
trying to isolate and reconcile, but it says reconcile us both, not to Israel, to God.
Of course.
So the separation is not from Israel. The separation is God. I think it's very important. Because I understand now what you're doing.
That's a straw man.
It's-
Okay.
well,
Because
no.
I never said that reconcile to Israel. I said reconcile back to God. But my point was Gentiles were not a part of God to begin with. So how can they be brought back to something they were
so
never
then
a
how
part
can the
of?
Jews be reconciled to God?
Because they were being wicked. They were amalgamated into. Sorry, not wicked. Let me rephrase that. They were estranged from God through their idols, pursuant to the book of Ezekiel. So they had to be brought back to God through obedience in Christ and keeping the commandments of God.
All right, so who's the we both?
We
Because
go to-
you're saying it's just Jews, right? So why does Paul say we both?
Of course, those Gentiles you're referring to are Israelites that have been amalgamated into a Gentile state of mind.
All right. And so they're joined together.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yes.
So
No.
why is this such a big deal that you have one new man? You're saying it's a reconstituted or resurrected man. This is one new man. So this is something that is a little bit different than's ever happened. Because by and large, what you had before was Israel proper, right? No one is saying that 80% of the 12 tribes were actually Gentiles. No one's saying that. We're just saying we recognize the reality of a mixed multitude. That's all we're saying, right? And so how is it a new man if actually it's a renewed man or a reconstituted man? This is something different. Now you have a situation that you see in Revelation 5 and Revelation 7, completed with every nation, tribe, tongue. I just don't see how your understanding of reconcile does justice to the text, because clearly it's talking about two separate, distinct groups of people. You want to make it the same group of people, just with only difference of circumcision. You see how?
Well, no, I
that's
see
why
how.
no one's interpreted it this way.
Well, okay,
Nobody's,
no, hold on.
except for the British Israelites,
Okay.
maybe. That's it.
So, do you agree that someone that's born in Christ is now a new man?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's what he's speaking of. Now you're being made one new man because you're in Christ. That's what he's speaking of. But I want to now go back to what we spoke about, because
Question
the
on
more.
that. We agree on that.
Okay.
What does being an Israelite have to do with that?
What do you mean? What is the Israelite being?
Because you said something great. You said, now you're born again, you're a new man. What does it have to do with being an Israelite?
Because I would contend via scriptures that only Israelites have the opportunity to do that. That's only been opened and presented to them.
So John 12:32, if I be lifted up, I would draw all men unto myself.
Okay, so you're a Calvinist, right?
If I be lifted up, I would draw all men unto myself.
Okay, so you're a Calvinist, right?
What do you believe by that? 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 What do you believe by that?
What do you mean?
If I be lifted up, I would draw all men unto myself.
Okay, so you're a Calvinist, right?
What do you believe by that?
You're
Yeah, that means
Calvinist,
all
right?
kinds of men.
Okay,
Not
well-
everybody. Everybody's not attracted by the
Okay,
cross.
so all kinds of men, right? What kinds of men?
Revelation 5 and Revelation 7, also penned by John, explain what that means.
Okay.
But do you know who came to see Jesus right before John 12:32?
Hold on, wait. I want to address what you said.
Well, it's a
All
good
men,
question.
all men.
The Greeks came to see Jesus.
Okay.
Do you think it's accidental? That right after Greeks came to see Jesus, then Jesus says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. I don't think it's accidental. I think Scripture is divinely orchestrated, right? And it's not a gotcha question. That's why I answered it. It wasn't like, but it was the Greeks. So what do we do with the fact Greeks come to see Jesus right after he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me?
Okay, well, again, it's not an I got you moment, because we have Israelites being into the Greek captivity and then being referred to as Greeks in the Bible.
Jesus. Right after he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me.
Okay, well, again, it's not an I got you moment, because we have Israelites being into the Greek captivity and then being referred to as Greeks in the Bible. So that's not an I got you moment. Now, you
So those
mentioned-
Greeks weren't really Greeks.
No, they're okay. The same way Paul, is he a Roman?
He's a Roman citizen.
Okay.
That's a legal status. That's
No,
not
okay,
ethnicity.
but hold on.
That's apples and oranges,
Okay,
right?
that's not apples and oranges,
Yeah, it
because
is.
you can be called Greek, you can be called a Roman due to
Are
citizenship.
you an American citizen?
Yes, I am.
American citizen?
Yes, I am. The
Are you
citizenship.
an American citizen?
Yes, I
You
am.
think you're an Israelite?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Okay, exactly.
Are you an Israelite citizen? Are you a
Hold on,
citizen
no,
of Israel
exactly.
proper?
That's the point.
Right,
They're
no,
Greeks
that's my
because of
point.
their citizenship. Of
It doesn't
course.
have anything to do with your ethnicity.
No,
Wait,
hold
it
on.
doesn't. So you're saying that this means Jews who had Greek? Why didn't it say Jews from Greek? And I'll give you.
I know the Greek word, because these are Israelites.
No, I was going to go
Hold
to
on.
Acts 18.
Okay, but hold on. I want to just
Apollos is a Jew from where?
Alexandria.
But and it says it, doesn't it? It says Apollos, a Jew from Alexandria. Notice how it specifies this is a Jewish person from Egypt, right?
Okay, perfect.
It's very specific to that. You want John to say that, but John doesn't say that.
Okay.
This is why.
I'll explain why.
This is all in all seriousness. This is why, like, Hebrew Israelite theology is. It's not a put down on you because it existed before you, right? This is why it's never been convincing to people who are like, let's take the words of this book seriously. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not. Again, it's not a diss because I'm not saying anything about you. I'm saying this is why this theology has always been like, why are you? It seems like you're playing games with text.